Okay, baby, so today we're going to do the rest of the packet for the Cupid Shuffle review. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to eliminate a few things over here that I just wanted you to try in the classroom, but I'm really not interested for you to know right now because this is Algebra 2 instead of Algebra 1. So we're going to eliminate the maximum and the minimum. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so find the key features of the function h of x here. Where is the function decreasing? I'm just going to go ahead and highlight. The function is decreasing from here to there and from here to there. Okay. Where is my x-intercept? You go to x for that. You don't have one, so this does not apply. Where is my y-intercept? Should be this little number over here, which is -3. Okay, find h of -1. So that means when x equals -1, what is y? So -1 is right here. Y would be +2. Okay, domain. Domain is the elements in x, your input, your first coordinate. This continues, so that would be from +infinity. That one over there continues to -infinity. What about your range? It's all real numbers that are not 1. Let's see. So I don't have -1 and I don't have 0. I do have +1. So it is from, remember your range is over here, from +infinity. The lowest one would be, so your range would be all this up, and then from here, but it does not include that -1 all the way down. So that would be from +infinity to +1, and it does include the 1. And from -1 to -infinity. It does not include the 1 because that's an open circle. All right, the illustration shows the graph of the function f of x equals x plus 2. Okay, so I know that the slope is 1. It's the number that's with the x, and that the y-intercept would be 2. Okay, so the y-intercept needs to be 2, +2. That's for that one, I'm sorry. Which graph below shows a function of f of x equals x minus 1. So in here, the slope is still 1, but the y-intercept would be -1. It's still 1 because there's a 1 right there. Okay, so it's a positive slope, so Jimmy should be walking up. Jimmy's walking down, so it's not C. That's a horizontal line, so this is hoi, which means horizontal line, slope is 0, y equals a number. And then in this 2, Jimmy is definitely going to heaven because he's going up. So let's see which one touches -1. Both of them touch -1. But then which one has a slope of 1? 1 over 1 across. That would be letter A. In the given equation, y equals 2 of x plus 7 if the slope is changed to a half. So now is 1/2 x plus 7. The line will, now the slope is smaller. slope used to be 2, now it's 1/2. So that means that the line will not become steeper, will not have a more vertical change, but quite the opposite. It will have a more horizontal change. Now, it will not become horizontal because horizontal is right here, and that's a slope of 0. And that line does not have a slope of 0. It has a slope of 1/2. So the line will become flatter. All right, find the x and y intercept of the following linear equations. Okay, for the x-intercept, y equals 0. And for your y-intercept, x equals 0. Okay, so all we got to do is plug in. So let's see. 5 times 0 will be 0. So I'm sorry, it's the other way around. I'm doing the y-intercept instead of the x-intercept. Okay, so for the x-intercept, y equals 0, which means that's a 0. So we can cancel that out. So I get that 5x equals 2, divide by 5, and x equals 2/5. Now, for the y-intercept, x equals 0, which means that part is 0, because 5 times 0 is 0, which means that y equals 2. All right, let's do the next one. For the x-intercept, y equals 0, which means that part is 3 times 0, which is 0. So 7x equals negative 21. Now I have to divide by 7, and x equals negative 3. For the y-intercept, x equals 0, which means that's 0 because this is 7 times 0. So 3y equals 21, divide by 3, and y equals 7. Okay, on the next one, y equals 0, so that part is 0, because 6 times 0 would be 0. So now you got that 3x equals 18. Divide by 3, x equals 6. I'm going to extend the page, and I'm going to do it right over here. For the y-intercept, x equals 0. Which means that's 0 because 3 times 0 equals 0. So now I get that 6y equals 18. Divide by 6, and y equals 3. Okay, an Oakman student has 50 on a lunch debit card. If each meal costs $2.50, how many meals can the student buy without adding more money to the debit card? We got to state the equation. Okay, so the equation would be debit card has 50. You're taking away $2.50 every time you buy a meal. X is the number of meals. Y is how much money you got on your card. State the y-intercept as an ordered pair. So on the y-intercept, x equals 0. So if x equals 0, you got that. This part is canceled. So you got that y equals 50. So what's the point? 0 and 50. That means that if you have not bought any meals, you have $50 in your bank account when the number of meals equals 0. On the x-intercept, y equals 0. So this part is 0. So you get that 0 equals 50 minus 2.5x. And then you solve this. You solve this for x, so you're going to say minus 50 divided by negative 250. Those are the steps that you need to do. And you get that x equals 20. So the ordered pair would be 20 and 0. What does it mean? It means that you can buy 20 meals with those $50. Without having to put more money on the debit card. All right, these ones are pretty easy to do. The graph shows the altitude of a car as the driver descends a mountain. That's why it's a negative slope, because it's descending. What is the meaning of the x-intercept? So the x-intercept is that one right there. That means that in 6 hours, the car has descended all the way from 1,500 feet to 0 feet. So let's see which one is that answer. The height at which the driver started? No, that's not. The height at which the driver started is actually your y-intercept, because that's your starting point. The height at which the driver stopped was 6 feet above sea level. The driver descends at 300 feet an hour, or the driver reached the base of the mountain after 6 hours. There you go, because you go all the way down. The graph shows the height of a candle as it burns. That's why it's negative, because the height, as the longer that a candle is on burning, the shorter the height becomes. Which of the following best describes the y-intercept? Now remember, y-intercept is this right here, which is the starting point. The height of the candle before it burned was 16 inches. There you go. That's it. All right, so we're going to state the domain. Remember, domain are the elements of the x, your input. So it would be this guy's right here. Now, arrows, so it would be from positive infinity to negative infinity. What about the range? Now, the range is a little different because it doesn't go all the way up. It goes from positive 3 to negative 3. And it includes those two. Okay, the y-intercept. The y-intercept would be this guy right here, which is negative 3. And your zeros are those right there. And I'm just going to circle them in that blue that I have, okay? And I'm just going to label them on my graph. So there, 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 and there. And I just did a little key over there to save time. Okay, find the rate of change, which is the same thing as the slope. Okay. Rise over run. Jimmy is walking down. So that would be, you just got to count. All right, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it is negative, okay? For this one, I would go to y equal to. So let's go ahead and do that. Do the stat, edit, let's write those numbers down. 17 and negative 6. I would definitely write the x and the y first. The x and y table. I would do an input table. Because this is a little harder to do when they're like that, and a positive 7. Need to make sure that they're correct. 17 and negative 6, negative 11 and 7. Now I'm going back to stat, go to calc, 4, and then my slope, I'm going to go ahead and change that decimal. So negative 0.46, 4428, 571257143. Let me make sure that I got it right. 0.46, 42, 85, 7143. Okay, now I'm going to go to math. Change that to a fraction. Uh-oh, it's an irrational number, so let's go ahead and just leave it as a fraction. It won't change it, okay? So I believe it was negative 0.46. Okay, for this one, I would distribute. And then the slope would be negative 8. Stat for that one again. You can go ahead and do it. For this one, remember, it's a number that's with the y. So I really can stop, because since it's only asking me to do the rate of change as soon as I multiply by that x. Because that plus 3, when I do minus 3, it's not going to mess up my slope. It's not going to do anything to my slope. So the slope is negative 2. In here, I have to solve for y. So I'm going to say minus 5x. That's 0. So 3y equals negative 5x minus 6. Now I'm going to divide by 3, and voila, there's my slope. I don't even need to finish because I'm just looking for rate of change. And remember, for this one, just go to stat. The phone company charges a flat rate of $25 per month. In addition, they charge 5 cents for each minute of service. Okay, so let's write down an equation. It's 25 plus 0.05x, where x is the number of minutes, y is the total cost, my bill. To interpret the slope is 0.5. What does it mean? How much they're charging? Charge per minute talk. All right. C, interpret the y-intercept. On the y-intercept is 25. What does that mean? That even if you don't talk, even if you don't use the phone, there's still a charge of a $25 charge. All right, what will the charge for 100 minutes of service be? That means that x equals 100. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to erase this over here so that I can do it right there. So this means that x equals 100. So I'm going to plug in 100. 0.05 times 100. Then you go ahead and you do it on your calculator. And you get that 25 plus 0.05 times 100 equals $30. You can afford a $55 phone bill each month. How long can you afford to talk on the phone each month? So now, $55 bill, that would be that y equals 55. So if you understand what y and equal are for, it's really easy to plug in the numbers or substitute the numbers because you will know where to do it. So now y equals 55 equals 25 plus 0.05x. So we're going to take those 55 and subtract 25 from it, and then divide it by 0.05. Right? I'm going to do minus 25. My steps would be minus 25 divided by 0.05. Minus 25 because it's added, divided by 0.05 because it's multiplied by the x, and you get that you can talk for about 600 minutes. All right. Bango Motors will rent a wreck for 25 plus 0.5 per mile travel. So this is your, remember, that's the keyword for slope. So we're going to write a function. The function would be 25 plus 0.15x, where x is the number of miles and y is the cost. So write a function expressing the rental cost. We already did it. Find the cost of renting a car to travel 1,200 miles. That means that x equals 1,200. So we're going to come over here and plug it in. 0.15 times 1,200. So you grab your calculator and you say 25 plus 0.15 times 1,200, and you get that that's 205. What does the slope of your function represent in the real world? The slope represents, that's my slope. I'm not gonna write it, I'm just gonna tell you what it is. It represents how much they're charging per mile. What does the y-inner represent in the real world? That's my flat fee. The 25 would be your flat fee. So that means that even if you don't drive it, even if you don't use it per mile, if you don't use it to travel, you still got to give them $25. How far would you have driven if your bill was 61? So now you got to remember what the money is. The money would be your y. So in here, y equals 61. So I'm going to erase what I did in the other one. And now I got to plug in for y instead of x. So 61 equals 25 plus 0.15x. So what would be my steps? Take away 25, divide by 0.15. Now take away 25 because that's positive, it's added, and divide by 0.15 because it's multiplied by the x. So I'm going to say 61 minus 25 divided by 0.15, and you get 200, and you get that x equals 240 miles. And this was money. Sorry about that. All right. Justin and Joe are baking downhill. I'm biking, not baking. Biking downhill. Justin starts 500 feet ahead of Joe. So this is Joe, and Justin starts 500 ahead of Joe and travels at a rate of 44 feet per second. Joe's rate is shown in the graph. After 1 minute, who will be further down the road? Down the hill. All right. So the equation for Justin would be, he starts 500 feet ahead. Joe starts at 0, so that would be 500. And then he travels at a rate of 44 feet per second. Now we got to figure out Joe's. Joe starts at 0, so my y-intercept would be 0, so I don't need to say plus 0. But let's do his rate of change. In 10 seconds, he's able to go 500 feet. So if we do y divided by x, the change in y divided by the change in x, which is how you calculate unit rate or slope or rate of change, we get the y is 500. The second, the x would be 10. 500 divided by 10 would be 50 feet per second. So who's faster? Joe, because Joe would be 50x. okay? While Justin, it's only 44. So after 1 minute, who will be further down the hill? So this is per second. Let me erase that. I need to pick up my pencil. So 1 minute equals 60 seconds, which means that x equals 40. I'm sorry, 60. It's late. All right, so let's plug it in the equation. Let's do Justin. I'm going to do Justin with blue. Justin would be, this is Justin. Justin would be 500 plus 44 times 60. That would be 3,140 feet. And then Joe would be 50x, which would be 50 times 60. That would be 3,000. So even though Joe is faster, because his rate of change is 50 instead of 44, because Justin started 500 feet ahead, he's still going to be a little bit ahead of him. Now, eventually, Joe will catch up with him and probably surpass him because he's faster. All right. One more. I think this is the last one. The functions below represent pricing plans for car rentals, where D is the number of days and C is the cost. Order the car rentals from least to greatest. Okay, so we got to figure out based on the rate of change. So we got to figure out slopes. We got to figure out slopes for all of these. So I want slopes. All right. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and go to my stat and write down all those numbers up. This would be my X and that would be my Y. How do I know? Because these are number of days and C is the cost. So the number of days is what determines what the cost is. The cost depends on the number of days. So let's go to the calculator and go to stat. And do this. Uh-oh, clear, enter. Okay, so that will be 2, 3, 7, and 14. And then 100, 130, 250, and 460. Make sure that they're correct. 2 and 100, 3 and 130, 7 and 250, and 14 and 460. Very good. So I'm going to go back to stat. I'm going to calculate a line regression. And what is my equation? Y equals 30x plus 40. Okay, so my slope in here would be 30. All right, let's go back to the other one. The total cost is 300 plus 25 per day. So let's see. Not 300, 30 plus 25x. So the slope would be 25. So right now this is the smallest one. All right. For the next one, I have to solve for C. So to solve for C, I'm going to say 7D minus 7D. That's a 7. So I get that negative 0.25C equals negative 7D minus 10, because that's 0. And now I'm going to divide by negative 0.25. So that cancels out, and you get that C, which is your Y, equals negative 7 divided by negative 0.25 would be 28, plus, and then negative 10, I'm sorry, divided by negative 0.25 would be 40. All right, so I'm going to go up, highlight my slope, and then order them from least to greatest. That's my slope. So the smallest one would be, this is the first one that I would put into order because that's the smallest. Then it will come hertz. Then Abbott. So ask yourself, which one would you pick? Abbott, Enterprise, or Hertz? Well, it depends on how many miles you're driving, but right now if I just take a look at the rate, it might be better to pick Enterprise because that's the smallest one. All right, I believe that is it. Oh no, darn it, we got one more. Sorry. Okay, the line second of the graph shows the wages earned by a cashier during a week. Which of the following best describes the slope? Okay, hours worked, money earned. So the cashier earns $6 per hour. Cashier earns $6.25 per hour. So I got to figure out the rate of change. So look for a point that you can read, and let's do y divided by x. Y is 50, x is 8. So 50 divided by 8 would be $6.25. So the cashier earns $6.25 per hour. Some students collected the data below. They will graph the data. What will the slope of the graph represent? The change in average temperature per day. So let's see. No, not per day, because we don't have days. We have months. The change in average temperature per month. The high temperature for the, nope. The range of the temperatures, no. So it's the change per month. All right, that was it. So you guys have a good night. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow. Ready to learn. Good night, baby.